What the customer wants is just assess the engine, because we know the gearbox was so bad. If you take the tanks off, it's a lot easier to get to the head bolts. You can pull the heads off, pull the barrels off, and just have a look and see what's going on realistically. So, right, taking the tanks off of WLA, I've already had this off, but first thing you want to do, get your seat out of the way. Some have the right pin through there and a spring clip. You just pull the clip down, pull the pin, undo that bolt there, and the whole seat T lifts off out the way. Okay, so that lets you take that out the way. And when it's all together properly, you've got 2 screws there, and there's a cover plate that goes over there with your nomenclature plate there. Okay, so you undo those 2, take your plate off, and your nomenclature plate and the cover plate. Right, your speedo cover, when it's on there properly, small screw there on your knob for your dashboard illumination, screw there, and there's a bolt goes in there. Obviously this one's missing it, and there's a cover plate that comes over here for your 0 reset. Okay, so you take those 2 off, take your screw out your button, take your button off, take the 2 screws out of there and the 1 bolt out of there, then that will just lift off out the way. Right, you've got 3 bolts to hold the tank on, or tanks on. So you've got 1 there, 1 at the top there, and 1 at the bottom there on the front. So that's that side until you get round to the oil lines. To get the tank off, you have to just drop off your gear shifter. So your gear shifter goes to there, it's just a 1/2 inch on there. You take that off out of the way. Obviously I've had all this off before, it's all loose. And obviously your fuel line that goes to the carburettor, which is a 9/16, so that's that one. Leaking fuel everywhere merrily. The right hand tank, the oil tank, will stay on because it's supported by the oil lines at the moment. So that's those 3 off. And that's your fuel tank out of the way. Okay, wiring's not normally in the way, so you can take those out. 1, 2, that's your 3rd bolt out of the tank. The oil tank, without draining it, can be a bit of a pain in the bum, but you can do it. Just makes a bit of a mess to start with. Okay, you've got 1 oil line there, 1 oil line there, your breather pipe there. Right, I have to drop the exhaust first because it's got to come off anyway. So basically, you've got to take your foot plate off to get the exhaust hangers off. So just, you've got bolts on the front there. Right, and you have to take that one off of there. Sometimes it's easier just to take the whole footboard off. Twist that round, it'll just spring off. Right, so that's that out of the way. Get rid of that, it'll only be in our way. If I can get onto it. Right, that's that. Oh, that's nice. It's a nut you put Dexy and racking together with. That doesn't fit, they've wound it through the bracket. Some people.
This is an IKEA bolt.
It's actually a Whitworth bolt, which is completely f***ing wrong. So it's not metric, it's not imperial, it's Whitworth. Right, let's just crack him loose a little bit and that'll probably just slide off. I've got a lot of mishmash of bolts on this thing. That's your tailpipe out the way. That's your exhaust out the way. So there's no fitting on these or anything, it just slides in the hole. There's no sealer, no nothing.
Yeah.
That's why they all rattle and bang and make noises. Now we can get to the oil pipe. Get that out the way and that out the way. That's that one. It wasn't even done up. What I do is slow draining the whole tank, lift that up there, nip him back up. Same again on that one. This is the one that will piss oil everywhere because it's your feed pipe. So crack him loose there. That wasn't done up. Crack him loose there. And again, nice and quickly, take that off and wind him up there, out the way. Right. And you've got one more, which is a breather. Under there. Oh, what the hell they put in there? It's the wrong banjo bolt though. Right, that's it. Your oil tank will come off then. So you tip him up that way a little bit, and then whatever's in the pipes will just run out. That way all your oil's running down that end, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's get that oil pipe out of the way there. The next thing to come off before you even do that, while it's nice and solid, get your carburetor out of the way. Just be careful of your fins and stuff when you're doing these. Again, people go mad doing them up. They don't. You need to do them up, but they don't need to be frantic tight, you know. Carb out of the way. Top head steady, you want to get him out of the way next. That's your spark plug lead, front spark plug lead holder. Right, and we get a 9/16 socket, and then any of them you can reach with a socket, undo the socket. Don't have to worry about any sort of order on these when they're coming apart. Right, this one's got a folding kit on it, so you need to take that off. That's good, it landed in the box. Short socket for the other one. So that one you can't get a ratchet into, but you know you get that on there. You're not going to smash all the fins up then, you see. All the ones you can pull out, get them up out the way, yeah. Some of them will be tight, just the way they are, you know. Some of them you can't physically pull the bolts out because they hit the head, hit the frame.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of hold them up while you're sliding the head out. Don't worry about where they come out of, they're all the same apart from those two that hold the head steady in, and the one that's got a hole in the top for the fording kit. Right. Ta-da! New pistons, that's a good start. Check the head, we'll clean it all up and check it for cracks, but it looks okay. That's fine.
Right, what are you checking for?
Piston wear, like if there's any grooves in the top, ridges in the top of the bore. Yeah?
Okay.
There's no ridges there. Piston's nice and tight in there. Wind it over to the valve's fully open. Which is there. A little bit of play in the valve guide, but that's nothing major at all for one of these. That's too much realistically on the valve guide. Let's assess the rest of it. If the worst case scenario is putting new valves and guides in it, then it's probably worth doing for the sake of it'll be about €80, something like that. You're okay that way, that's not where your thrust is measured, it's measured that way. But we'll check it all out when it's apart, but that all looks pretty good so far. I mean, if the bottom end, when the barrels are off, if the bottom end's turning nice and loose, don't think you need to worry about it too much more. So just check the end float and the crank, make sure the crank isn't tight side to side. Yeah, they've obviously put new pistons in it and had it bored or whatever sleeved, but they're old valves, they're not new valves. See that thread in there, look. Right, there's basically no thread left in there. You can see all the oil and residue blown out around the plug hole. And the fins here, that's where it's not sealing. And if you try and do that up tight, it will just bust the threads out. And ultimately, if you, I mean, these guys want to take them over to Normandy and stuff.
Oh right, okay.
It'll just blow the spark plug out of it, so that's got to be done. It literally, you'll ride it along the road. They're not high compression, but it'll just wear and wiggle and wear out, and in the end you'll kick it over and it'll blow the spark plug out.
Okay.
So that needs to be done. They might even do the inserts, I'm not sure. If not, what you can do is thread that out, put an insert in for a smaller gauge plug.
Yeah.
Instead of the 18 mils, you can put like a 14 in it. You got a little bit of a ridge on that one, but nothing major. Well, they feel all right. There's no real scoring in there. That one's definitely got more of a lip than that one. Yeah, the only thing I would probably recommend on that is valves and guides, but it'll run fine like that if you just want it right. You know, that's a customer's discretion. It will run fine like that. Yeah, what all I'm doing is taking the barrels off, yeah? And then you've got no drag on the pistons.
Yeah.
So when you turn the crankshaft, you can feel if the crank's tight, loose. Because all the time the pistons are on it, you know, in the bores with the piston ring drag, you can't tell realistically what the crank situation is. Right. Just want to wind it over to the pistons at the bottom of its stroke, yeah? And that's right down the bottom. Spring on the valves just pushed it off, and you can lift that up and out the way. Yeah, they're pretty good on the bores. Plenty of oil around her, which is good. Right. It's got no burn marks this side or chafing by the looks of it. Big end feels alright on that one. Again, there's no burn marks or chafing on there. Okay, right, let's have a look at the front one then. I'm not worried about losing the timing or anything because it's all got to be pretty much rebuilt again anyway, so not going to fret about that. Right, and you want to get that one at the bottom, but what you got to be careful of with any of these when they're apart, if you wind that over, you can catch the piston on the edge of things, so hold that piston while you're turning it, yeah? Because if it jams up on a thread or on the edge of that, it will bugger the end of the piston up. It's lifting it now. When you're at the bottom of the stroke, the cam's coming round to lift the valve so it'll push the barrel off.
Yeah.
Don't ever try and lever these or bang them on a corner, because that corner will just snap off because they're cast iron. Done that one. Looks good.
What are you feeling for?
It is tight.
Should be free moving, shouldn't it?
Should be freer than that, yeah.
What's the repercussions of that being tight?
Bearings in the gearbox. That, if it smudges the fucking main bearings on the crank, game over. Should be looser than that. Do you remember the others when I built them?
Yeah,
you let go and it just comes back up.
Yeah.
So the next thing to do, I'm afraid, is pull the cam gear off, tap it chest, and see if there's anything tight in there, because it can be that. I mean, it does move, but that's too tight for me.
Yeah.
And it's alright hanging on the end of a foot long spanner and turning it, but that don't mean it's not right. That should, like, you know, I showed you on the other ones, the counterweights.
Yeah.
You just let go and it just brings itself back up. It can be in the cam gears, to be fair, but ultimately it'll just wear itself out a lot quicker than it should do, you know. That was my one worry on this thing, was that crank being too tight.
How would you notice that in the performance?
It won't accelerate freely. Ultimately, it will get too hot and seize up. That's your biggest issue with it.
But once you've done running, everyday running.
Yeah, you remember when I kicked it over, I said it don't feel right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Obviously that part of that was the gearbox. This is not the way to do this. Double check I've got all the bolts out of it. Which I have. It's not the done thing this, but if it's on there that hard, it's got to come off.
What would be causing it then?
Probably you've got 3 locating pins in it. They're probably either out of line, chewed up, bent, or the cams bearings are so out of line. Right, well, I'd say that they're running tight because of the glean on them. So let's check our crank now, because there is nothing else left in there that can drag on anything. So it's slightly tight, but nothing to worry about. So that's in the cam chest.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's okay. It is a little bit tight, but nothing like when it was all together.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do now is tidy up. And then you take all your cams out and you set it up, obviously making sure that all of this is cleaned up with a new gasket. And see, they've got goo behind that. You shouldn't have goo in it, but you see those shiny marks? That tells me that there's either too many shims in the crank in the cam chest, or it needs these facing off or something. So you do them one by one now. You check it on the end bearing of that. If that's tight, then you know it's that. You pull them all the cams out one by one. You do them individually, making sure that they turn, making sure the crank doesn't nip up. Then you put them all in and you see what the meshing's like on them. Feels okay. But you've got to clean it all up and keep pushing it on and off. Right, so that's miles too tight, which leads me to believe that because it's got that much on it, probably isn't done up properly or something or the other. So now it's just a matter of getting it all cleaned up, tidy up, put all your shim washers as they should be on the camshafts and do them one by one.
Yeah.
And check it out. Check it out. Clean all the threads out in here. But I'm more than happy with that. That's not too tight.